Have you ever wondered why some relationships lift you higher while others quietly weigh you down? Why certain people walk into your life and everything begins to align while others bring chaos, confusion, and compromise? It's not a coincidence. Every connection we make either feeds our growth or fractures our direction. Yet so many of us live in relational autopilot, surrounded by people, yet disconnected from purpose. We drift into friendships out of habit, stay in circles out of guilt, or commit to partnerships out of fear of loneliness. But deep down, there's a knowing, a subtle inner whisper that some relationships, no matter how familiar or emotionally charged, are not meant to remain. The truth is, every relationship is either helping you become who you were created to be or holding you back from it. We were never meant to walk this life alone, but neither were we meant to walk it with just anyone. The quality of your relationships will always influence the quality of your destiny. That's why it's not just about who is around you. It's about why they are around you. What is their role in your life? What is yours in theirs? Without a clear understanding of purpose, relationships become distractions instead of divine appointments. We spend years investing in people who were never meant to build with us, just pass through. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. It's about stepping out of emotional confusion and into intentional clarity. Because when your life has purpose, your relationships must too. And when you understand that, everything changes. You begin to attract people who sharpen you, challenge you, stretch you, and support you, not because it's convenient, but because it's aligned. This is the power of purposeful connection, the kind that transforms, empowers, and accelerates your life. Every relationship in your life serves a function, whether you're aware of it or not. Some people come to teach you, others to test you, and a few to walk with you toward the future you were born for. But in a world where relationships are often formed out of habit, attraction, or mere proximity, many of us have forgotten to ask the most important question: what is the purpose of this connection? Purpose is the foundation that gives relationships meaning. Without it, we move through life tethered to people who may have no connection to where we're going. We end up forming emotional bonds with no intentional direction. And this can quietly erode our focus, drain our energy, and delay our potential. Most people don't suffer from a lack of relationships. They suffer from a lack of meaningful ones. Being surrounded doesn't always mean being supported. We often mistake attention for alignment and presence for partnership. But the truth is, not everyone who walks into your life is meant to stay. Not everyone who stays is meant to be close. Purposeful relationships are different. They are intentional, strategic, and empowering. They don't just make you feel good, they make you grow. They sharpen your focus, stretch your thinking, and support your vision. To build a life that reflects who you truly are and what you're truly called to do, you must begin evaluating every relationship through the lens of purpose. Who belongs in your inner circle? Who has access to your thoughts, your time, your trust? These questions aren't selfish. They're essential because the people you allow closest to you will either ignite your purpose or suffocate it. It's not about cutting everyone off or building walls. It's about developing the wisdom to recognize who aligns with your future and who only fits your past. When you understand that relationships are part of your destiny, you begin to choose them with greater clarity and care, and in doing so, you create space for the kind of relationships that not only support your journey, but also challenge and inspire you to become everything you were meant to be. This isn't just about connection, it's about alignment. And when alignment meets purpose, transformation begins. One of the greatest challenges people face today is not the absence of relationships, but the presence of the wrong ones. We live in a time where connection is more accessible than ever. Phones, social media, messaging apps, constant communication. Yet beneath all that interaction, many people feel drained, distracted, or even trapped. The reason lies in the nature of the relationships they maintain. Too often, people form bonds out of emotional need, convenience, loneliness, or shared struggle, not shared vision. These kinds of relationships may feel fulfilling in the moment, but over time, they lead to misalignment and confusion. The heart becomes entangled with people who have no investment in your growth, and worse, no place in your future. When relationships lack purpose, they become heavy. You begin to carry people instead of walking with them. You find yourself explaining your dreams to those who don't understand, or even worse, don't care. You feel guilty for evolving because your progress threatens their comfort. Instead of being encouraged, you're subtly discouraged. Instead of being challenged, you're contained. These are the silent challenges of unintentional relationships. They don't always appear toxic on the surface, but they slowly erode your direction from within. Another problem is the fear of change. Many people recognize that certain relationships are no longer serving their growth, but they hesitate to create distance. They worry about being judged, abandoned, or misunderstood. They cling to history instead of honoring destiny. And in doing so, they stay stuck. Holding on becomes more damaging than letting go. But without clarity, it's easy to remain emotionally entangled in relationships that no longer belong in your next chapter. There's also the issue of identity. When someone isn't clear on who they are or what they're called to do, they're more likely to accept any relationship that gives temporary comfort. But comfort is not always confirmation. People settle for connection over alignment, leading to years spent in circles that never expand. The result is a life that looks busy but lacks real momentum. At the core, the challenge is this. Without a clear understanding of purpose, relationships become accidents rather than assignments. They distract rather than direct. And without intentional reflection, we allow the wrong people to influence the most important parts of our lives. That's why it's not enough to have relationships. We must have the right ones. When we begin to view relationships through the lens of purpose, everything shifts. No longer are we content with simply being liked, needed, or accepted. Instead, we begin to ask deeper questions. What role does this person play in my life? Are we moving in the same direction? Do they understand and support the vision I have for my future? Purposeful relationships are not based on how long you've known someone, how much you enjoy their company, or even how much history you share. They're grounded in alignment of values, growth, direction, and mindset. The most powerful relationships are those where both individuals are committed to mutual growth. These connections are marked by honesty, accountability, and shared vision. They don't just celebrate your victories, they help you get there. They ask the hard questions, speak the uncomfortable truths, and stand with you not just in comfort but also in challenge. These people don't compete with you. They complete the picture of your purpose. They're not intimidated by your progress, they're inspired by it. Developing these kinds of relationships begins with clarity about your own identity and direction. When you're uncertain about who you are, you'll accept anyone who brings temporary affirmation. But when you know your purpose, it becomes easier to discern who fits within it. You naturally start creating boundaries, not to keep people out, but to keep your life in alignment. You no longer feel the need to chase approval or cling to connections that feel safe but stagnant. Instead, you create space for those who challenge you to grow and hold you accountable to your potential. The journey toward purposeful relationships also involves pruning. Not all disconnections are failures. Some are necessary transitions. Letting go is hard, especially when love, loyalty, or shared memories are involved. But alignment often requires sacrifice. It's not about cutting people off without cause. It's about honoring where you're going and recognizing when certain relationships no longer serve that path. This takes maturity, humility, and courage. Finally, purposeful relationships are reciprocal. They're not one-sided emotional investments. There is balance. Both give and receive, both grow and support. These relationships fuel energy rather than drain it. They bring clarity instead of confusion. And when you're surrounded by people who understand their role in your life and you in theirs, you begin to walk in power, focus, and fulfillment. There comes a moment when everything becomes clear. Not necessarily because circumstances change, but because you change. You begin to realize that some of the delays, emotional exhaustion, and internal conflicts you've been experiencing aren't random. They're directly connected to the relationships you've allowed to occupy space in your life. That awareness hits like a wave, not with anger, but with clarity. You see it now? The weight you've been carrying wasn't yours alone. It was the burden of mismatched alignments, misplaced trust, and partnerships without purpose. This moment of revelation doesn't always come with loud drama. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in a conversation that doesn't sit right, in a dream that suddenly feels distant, or in the discomfort you feel around people you once called close. It's a sense that something has shifted in you, and what once made sense no longer fits. You look around and realize some of the people closest to you are more committed to who you were than who you're becoming. And that's when you know a choice must be made. This is the defining point. Do you continue nurturing relationships out of habit, guilt, or comfort? Or do you step into the courage it takes to align your life with intention, even if that means walking away from people you care about? This moment demands more than emotion. It demands conviction. It requires you to prioritize your calling over your comfort, your growth over your guilt, and your future over your familiarity. You may shed tears, you may wrestle with doubt, but deep inside, there's peace. Because this time, your choice is not rooted in bitterness, it's rooted in clarity. You're not abandoning people, you're accepting purpose. You're no longer settling for connections that feel good but go nowhere. Instead, you're choosing alignment. And once that choice is made, a door opens, not just to healthier relationships, but to the next chapter of your life that's been waiting for you to step into it with intention and courage. Purposeful relationships are not a luxury, they are a necessity. The people we walk with determine how far, how fast, and how faithfully we reach our destiny. When relationships are rooted in shared values, mutual growth, and clear alignment, they don't just support us, they elevate us. They bring out our best, challenge our weaknesses, and remind us of our direction when we begin to drift. These relationships don't demand perfection, but they do require intention. They are built, not stumbled into. They are nurtured, not assumed. And most importantly, they are aligned with where you are going, not just where you've been. Life is too precious and time is too limited to be entangled in relationships that drain your energy, confuse your identity, or distract from your purpose. Many people spend years stuck in cycles that could have ended with one decision, the decision to choose alignment over attachment. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Not everyone can handle the weight of your vision, and that's okay. The goal isn't to collect people. It's to connect with the right ones. True alignment creates momentum. When you're surrounded by people who understand their role in your life and yours in theirs, you move differently. You make decisions with more clarity. You grow with more consistency, and you lead with more conviction. These relationships don't just happen. They are the result of courage, discernment, and self-awareness. They come after you decide that your calling is too important to be compromised by comfort. It's important to reflect, not with resentment, but with responsibility. Ask yourself who in your life is pushing you forward and who is pulling you back. Who sees your potential and fuels it? Who respects your boundaries and honors your growth? When you begin asking the right questions, the answers reveal what needs to stay and what needs to shift. In the end, the relationships you allow in your life will either multiply your progress or minimize it. Choosing purpose over popularity, alignment over approval, and vision over validation may feel costly, but it's the kind of cost that clears the path to true fulfillment. And when you walk in relationships that align with your purpose, you don't just feel supported, you feel unstoppable. Now is the time to take ownership of the relationships in your life. Stop waiting for change to happen by chance. Be intentional. Begin today by evaluating the connections around you with courage and honesty. Ask yourself, who truly aligns with where I'm going? Who supports the best version of me, not just the most convenient version? Who brings clarity, energy, and challenge, not confusion, fatigue, or complacency? You were not created to walk alone, but you also weren't created to walk with just anyone. The people closest to you should reflect the values you stand on and the vision you're pursuing. This is your moment to shift from passive connection to purposeful alignment. Start by taking inventory. Write down the key relationships in your life, friends, family, colleagues, partners, and identify which ones are helping you grow and which ones are quietly pulling you backward. Don't be afraid of what you'll discover. The truth sets you free, and clarity creates momentum. Next, make space. This doesn't mean abruptly cutting people off or burning bridges. It means setting boundaries, creating distance when needed, and giving yourself permission to protect your purpose. Growth requires room, and sometimes that room can only be created through hard but necessary conversations and decisions. At the same time, be open to building new relationships that align with your future. Look for people who inspire you, challenge you, and walk in the same direction. Be that person for others too. Purposeful relationships are mutual. They're not just about what you receive, but also what you give. Don't delay. The longer you entertain relationships that aren't aligned, the longer you delay the ones that are. Your purpose deserves people who recognize it, honor it, and help you carry it forward. Take the step today to realign your circle. Choose purpose, choose clarity, choose relationships that multiply your momentum. Your future is too valuable to entrust to the wrong connections. Let this be the season you walk with intention and never look back.